Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our third Renewal Series webinar, The Road to Renewal and Beyond 2027 Requirements and Future Milestones for DCR's Licensing and Compliance and Enforcement Divisions and the LA Department of Building and Safety. My name is Rocky Wiles. I'm the Division Chief of DCR's Compliance and Enforcement Division. Today, I'm joined by representatives from the Department of Building and Safety who will explain the building and safety related milestones that licensees have to complete for the 2028, 29, and 2030 renewal cycles. Each of these milestones is an important step toward obtaining a DCR operating permit by the January 1st, 2031 deadline. Our goal today is to make the process and timeline as clear as possible so that you can begin preparing now and remain on track. Next slide, please. We'll begin with a brief review of the overall renewal roadmap and then take a closer look at the milestones for the 2028, 2029, and 2030 renewal cycles. Our building and safety partners will explain the plan check and permitting process, including plan submittal, plan corrections, required clearances, issuance of a building permit, construction inspections, and the certificate of occupancy. We'll then explain how those requirements lead to DCR's final inspection and the issuance of an operating permit. We'll conclude with additional resources and a question and answer period. Next slide. If you've attended previous webinars, you've seen this slide many, many times. It provides a high level of the renewal roadmap. We'll cover these requirements in more detail throughout today's presentation, so I won't spend too much time on this today. The main point to remember is that the calendar year and the renewal cycle year are different. So for example, the milestones due during the upcoming September through November 2026 renewal period are the requirements for the 2027 renewal cycle. The milestones due in fall of 2027 will apply to the 2028 renewal cycle, and so on and so forth. Each milestone builds upon the one before it, so it's really important for you guys to understand both the sequence and the applicable deadline. Next slide, please. Okay, so during the 2028 renewal period, which will run from September 1 through October 31st, 2027, licensees must provide DCR with two items: a building and safety building permit application number and an active and progress clearance summary worksheet. The building permit application number is generated when the plans and building permit application are submitted to building and safety. This is why the work required during the current 2027 renewal cycle is so important. Licensees should retain a licensed architect or engineer and begin preparing their plans well before the 2028 renewal period. If you need additional guidance on retaining an architect or an engineer, please refer to the earlier webinar, which is on DCR's event page. Our DBS partners will now walk us through the plan submittal and plan check process, including what must be submitted, how it may be submitted, and the documents that you will receive following the building and safety review. I'm turning it over to building and safety. I'll come back later.
Thank you, Rocky. As Rocky mentioned, you will need a building permit. And when you submit for the building permit, submit along with it an INT form, 4001 form, DCR referral for LADBS plan check. You can download this from the DCR licensing portal. This is just to confirm that your project is actually a cannabis project, is cannabis related. Now, the second is permit records, which include plot plans and certificate of occupancy for your premises, which you can find them at LADBS online record system or by submitting a record research request form to LADBS, and all this you can find in LADBS website. And also the B form, which indicates the address of the project, information of the applicant, and the scope of work. You can submit this either online or in person. Regardless of how you submit your plans, you will need to create an Angelino account. the access to access city services and communicate with relevant agencies, such as the Build LA Appointment System, Bureau of Engineering, Permanent Services, LADBS Notification Portal, ePlan LA, etc. Next slide, please. This is how the Angelino account page looks like. You will want to visit this page and select Sign In to create an account and just follow the instructions. Next slide. If you submit through ePlans, which now I think is a very convenient and efficient way to submit, which you submit the plans and all the documents, and you can track all the progress of your application online. You log into ePlan LA and select Start New Application. Select the type of building plan check you're applying for, whether it's a TI, a tenant improvement, a new building, addition to a building, or an auto repair. You fill out the permit application and upload the documents. Next. And if you do in person, which you can do also do, you're gonna need to schedule an appointment. Now we do everything by appointment. You select the LADBS and building plan check, new plan submittal in the portal. Select the office you want to visit and fill out the request appointment detail. You can submit it to Metro Downtown, Van Nuys, San Pedro, South LA, or West LA. Now, at the time of your appointment, depending on the size of the type of project, you will either begin a counter plan check or be routed to submit plans for regular or expanded counter plan check. Just keep in mind that most non-retail cannabis businesses probably will undergo the regular plan check, while some retail operations with tenant improvement and just small projects businesses may qualify for counter and expanded counter plan check. The difference is the amount of time it takes to review the plans. Next. Now, one of the important note is on your plans that LADBS cannot approve plans that contain reference to cannabis. So please do not mention cannabis on the physical drop-up plans. Instead, you must specify in the work description of the building permit that your project is for a cannabis-related business. In that sense, your hired architect or engineer can help you fill out your building permit application. For instance, if you're going to be selling cannabis product, we're going to refer it as a retail and so on. Next. Now, after you submit your plans, you will receive a marked up set of plans along with the plan check correction checklist. The correction checklist is a lengthy document that includes what corrections are needed, if there is any, instruction for making corrections, supplemental attachments like the current summary worksheet. Make sure you consult with your architect and read through everything carefully and emphasize carefully to ensure proper steps are taken to correct plan deficiencies. You will need to address all corrections in order to receive your LADBS building permit and meet the milestone requirement for the renewal period. Next. This is like, you see this is like an example of a sample of the clearance summary worksheet. The clearance summary worksheet will detail what clearances you need to get from various city agencies. Please read this sheet in detail as it contains instructions and the contact information of the agencies you will need to work that you need to work with. Please note that the process is not written for you. You must reach out each agency on your own and each individually. Clearances will be granted electronically and can be tracked through ePlan LA for the 2028 renewal cycle. Download and submit your in-progress form, which also contains your building permit application. Keep in mind, the building application is on the upper right-hand side of the document, and also include or you're gonna find an address code. You're gonna find the address code number is gonna be in the last page of the document where it states all the information of the particular agency. So you'll have everything, the emails, phone numbers, and address of their offices. Next. Now I'll pass it on to Rocky.
Hello again, and my apologies, I didn't introduce our partners here. Sal Quintanilla, he is a structural engineering associate with the Department of Building and Safety in the Development Services Case Management Office. In case you were wondering, I missed that introduction, so thank you, Sal. So moving forward to the 2029 renewal cycle, which will take place from September 1st through October 31st, 2028, licensees must provide DCR with 2 additional items, which is an active LA County Public Health Permit and a LADBS building permit. Today, we're focusing primarily on the building and safety building permit requirements. The public health permit process was covered during an earlier webinar, the last one that we held, which is again available on the DCR events page. An LADBS building permit can be issued only after the required plan corrections have been addressed and all applicable clearances are identified on that clearance summary worksheet have been obtained. I'm going to turn it over back to Sal from Building and Safety to explain the remaining steps for obtaining that building permit, and I'll be back later.
Thank you, Rocky. So once you get back the corrected plan check, the corrected plans on the correction checklist, you're gonna need to make an appointment once all the corrections are addressed and all the clearances in the correction in the clearance summary worksheet are obtained. You need to contact your plan checker from LADBS to schedule a verification appointment. The verifications, they may take multiple appointments, and that depends on the extent of corrections issued by the LADBS. And also, once LADBS verify that your premises is in compliance, they will issue a ready to issue sheet. This means that the building permit is ready to be issued. No additional plan check is necessary. Once all fees are paid, please note that the project is required a licensed contractor to sign the sheet. Once signed and paid, you will receive the building permit and a building record card, officially clearing you to begin construction. Make sure both documents are visible at your premises, and please do not start construction before you obtain the permits. Next.
Okay, let's see. So we have a few more slides left. Okay, so now we'll move to the 2030 renewal cycle scheduled for September 1st through October 31st, 2029. By the end of that renewal period, licensees must provide DCR with an LADBS certificate of occupancy. If LADBS determines that a new certificate of occupancy, or COO for short, is not required for the project, the licensee has to instead complete and pass the required building and safety final inspection. A certificate of occupancy confirms that the building has been inspected and approved for occupancy and for its intended use. Before reaching that point, though, licensees must complete any required construction, physical construction, or modification out in the field so that the premises conform to the building and safety approved plans. LADBS will now explain the construction and inspection process in greater detail. Back to you, Sal.
Thanks. Now, you may have to perform modifications to the space to conform to the approved set of plans. With inspections, will require for each phase of your construction project. These are tracked on the building record card, as you see a sample of it. When you are ready to request an inspection online through LADBS using your building permit application number, if you need assistance or information on inspections, call 213-482-7210. And technically, you don't need to memorize this number. It's already in the inspection card. Next. Now, all the work being inspected must be visible and ready for review by the inspector. At the time of inspection, any lack of documentation or failure to maintain proper conditions that delay or obstruct the inspector's job could result in additional charges. To avoid incurring or extra trip fee or of hours inspection charge, ensure that all documents are readily available, such as a copy of the building permit, approved set of plans, the building record card. The inspector has to have access to all areas in need of inspection. Inspection areas should be well lit, clean, and free of obstructions. Any equipment needed to complete the inspection should be on site and in good working conditions. Next. After completing construction and passing all the inspections, request a final inspection with LADBS. If approved, you will receive your certificate of occupancy. This confirms that your building is safe, occupied, and can be used for its intended purpose. And keep in mind, you should also keep, once you get an inspection, you can talk to the inspector to see how he rather have the inspections scheduled, or how often does he want to see the project. You should have a good communication with inspection. Next.
Okay, so once you have completed the building and safety process and obtained the required certificate of occupancy, or completed the building and safety final inspection when a certificate of occupancy is not required, you will be approaching the final stage of this process. To obtain a DCR operating permit, a licensee must possess the required building and safety approval, maintain an active LA County public health permit, possess an active state license for the same commercial cannabis activity, and pass DCR's final inspection. Please remember that DCR cannot conduct the final inspection until the building and safety and public health requirements have been completed. All licensees must obtain their DCR operating permit by January 31st. By January 1st, 2031. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's recap. We cannot overstate the importance of remaining on schedule. These milestones are sequential. Each completed requirement allows you to move into the next phase. A delay early in the process can affect every single deadline that follows and may ultimately jeopardize your ability to obtain an operating permit by the January 1st, 2031 deadline. The first priority is to retain a qualified architect or engineer. Gather the available historical building records for your premises and begin preparing your plans. Do not wait until the 2028 renewal period to begin this work, please. Because plan review and issuance of the clearance summary worksheet may take several weeks and corrections may require additional time, we recommend submitting your plans no later than August 2027 if you haven't done so already. However, earlier submittal is strongly encouraged whenever possible. Once you receive the clearance summary worksheet from Building and Safety, please begin working on the identified clearances immediately. Don't assume that the clearances will be routed or completed automatically. And don't assume that they're not going to take a long time. Many of these departments require that you submit plans as well to them. Licensees are responsible for contacting the agencies on that sheet and monitoring their progress. Okay, you need to advocate for yourself and you need to push this process forward. If you stay on schedule, you should have approximately 1 year to obtain the building and safety permit and the LA County public health permit, followed by another year to complete construction, pass the required inspections, and obtain the certificate of occupancy or other applicable building and safety final approval. After completing those steps, you must pass the DCR final inspection and obtain the DCR operating permit. Again, no later than January 1, 2031. Most importantly, licensees that do not obtain an operating permit by January 1st, 2031 will no longer be authorized to continue operating. Starting early and actively managing each milestone is therefore essential to your success. Next slide. I'm going to pass it back to Seth.
Yeah, thanks, Rocky. Here's some quick links to resources that you may find helpful while navigating the plan check and permitting process. These are plenty of resources online on the LADBS website, including information on consultant services. One of the services that I like are the LADBS consultant services. Is a restaurant and small business express program, development service case management that will help you before submitting the project for plan check. They can answer questions that you may have prior to submitting. So the plan during plan check, it goes more smoothly the process. So take advantage of it if you can. Those are pretty good programs. Next, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sal. So this brings us to the question and answer portion of today's webinar. We encourage you to submit your questions related to the requirements and the processes covered during today's presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Gidget to help us get started on those questions.
Good afternoon to everyone. I want to check the first set of questions are for Ryan, so I want to make sure that he's ready.
Yeah, ready to go as long as you can hear me.
Yep, sure can. Okay, first question comes from Rafi S. Will there be any grants to help with the 2027 renewal cost?
Yes, good question. For social equity applicants, DCR is utilizing grant funds to provide our social equity licensees with a renewal fee waiver, just in a little bit more of a limited scope than last renewal cycle. Waivers will be available to social equity applicant businesses who hold a license with DCR, meaning if they have an annual license application, that they have temporary approval on that annual license application, or if they hold an annual license. Either of those situations would qualify as having a capital L license with DCR. So social equity licensees will be able to submit as part of your renewal application, you'll be checking off an activity which you would like to receive a waiver for. We have enough funding to provide a waiver for one activity. If you have just one activity, then there you go. That's an easy choice. If you have multiple activities, unfortunately, you'll have to select which activity to receive the waiver for. And any subsequent activities, the fees will need to be paid for that. I do believe there's a fee table available on our Access Cannabis website that the communications team might be able to post here in the Q&A chat.
Thank you, Ryan. This one is also from you and also from Rafi S. Let me try that again. How do we submit the hardship LIC 425 form?
Yes, I'm assuming the question here is related to obviously the LIC 4025 form, but specifically speaking to the hardship exemption or extension, option that we have available. Assuming that's the question being asked here, if you are experiencing a hardship and you're looking to request a one-time extension of the renewal requirements that we are requiring for this 2027 renewal cycle, you would do that by filling out the LIC 4025 form. Everyone's going to have to fill that out. But specifically for this hardship extension, you would go to the second page there, and then under the attestation number 1, the third checkbox down is where you would indicate that you're requesting that one-time extension. So that's where you would indicate that. And then my last kind of disclaimer or note there is that this one-time extension does not push any future renewal milestone deadlines. So everything that Rocky was going over for 2028, 2029, 2030, all kind of leading up to that January 2031 operating permit requirement. This extension doesn't push anything further beyond the requirements of this year. So for example, when 2028 rolls around, you would still be required to meet all of those 2028 renewal requirements. So just please keep that in mind if you are requesting an extension for this renewal cycle.
Okay, Ryan, you're up again. This is from Dana C. Do we need to submit a lease 4008 or a premises diagram if those documents are up to date? Or will it help to expedite if I refile prior current and accurate versions?
Yeah, so if you have documents on your record already that are up to date, they're the current versions of those documents, there's no need for you to resubmit the documents. If there are updates required, that you need to make sure you reflect, accurately with DCR what's going on with your business operations. Obviously, we would request that you provide that documentation, or maybe if you have an outdated version of the form that's not on your record, we would request you provide that documentation. Doing that would help expedite the process if you did need those updates, just because no matter what, we will be reviewing the documents, and if they are out of date, we will request that. So getting that done up front will probably save you some time. But if all of your documents are up to date and the current versions, there's no additional reason for you to resubmit any documents that are already on file.
One more time, Ryan. This question comes from Luis R. What do you submit to DCR for the 2027 and 2028 renewal if you already updated/received a new certificate of occupancy?
Yeah, great question. If you already received a certificate of occupancy, then that's great. You're ahead of the game, so that's good news. Minimally, as we lay out in the LIC 4025 form, those are the minimum requirements. So if you're beyond that, certainly you can provide the evidence of that. You can provide the certificate of occupancy itself, excuse me. But otherwise, you're just simply filling out what's being requested for that renewal cycle. So for 2027, as an example, you would provide the building permit application number that's associated with that certificate of occupancy. Looking forward to like 2028, same thing. You would provide, if you have like a permit number at that time, you could provide that permit number that's associated with that certificate of occupancy. But whatever documentation you have, if you're further along in the process, you're obviously welcome to provide that. The LIC 4025 form is just meant to be a minimum amount of what we need to be able to renew you to that next cycle. If you're further beyond that, we more than welcome you to submit whatever documentation you have.
Thank you, Ryan. Then we're going to move over to Sal. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, so this first question comes from Nate. What should I put in the work description of the building permit application?
Okay, so you can place depends on like if you have if you're planting or growing, you can say that it's a nursery. If you're just selling cannabis product like retail, or if you're if you're like doing the process, you can say it's a manufacturing. Um, but at the same time, at the end on this scope of work, you specify that it's a cannabis related, so we know that you're that it's going to be a cannabis. But on the set of plans, please don't place that it's cannabis or anything related to marijuana or cannabis. I don't know if that answered your question.
I hope so. This next one is also for you, Sal. It comes from Jack. Once I submit my plans and building permit application, how long does it typically take to receive my clearance summary worksheet?
Okay, so it depends. Like if you do like over the counter, remember I mentioned that there's a process over the counter and there's one that is a regular plan check. And once it's plan check, if it's over the counter, it's gonna be plan check pretty much in front of you, and you're gonna get the corrections or the clearance summary worksheet. This right there and then. Once it's a regular plan check, once they plan check it, once you receive the plans with the corrections, the clearance summary worksheet is going alongside with the plan. So it takes about, I will say right now, it's about 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you, Sal. This one is also from you, and it comes from Jen. Can I go through this plan check process by myself, or do you recommend I hire someone?
You know what? I recommend you hire an architect. The process goes smooth. It's smoother.
Okay. Thank you so much. And then one more for you from Crystal. The next one is from Crystal. I have not started the plan check process at all, and I feel lost with all this information. Who is a good resource at DBS to get started?
Do you have, okay, first of all, I will say collect all the records of your space to see what existing legal use is. And once you obtain that, you can determine whether the project is going to be a TI or a change of use. And you're probably going to need an architect to draw up the plans, and they will take care of also the plan check process. They will submit and continue with the process. I think is if you're trying to do it yourself, it's gonna be pretty hard. It's too much information, and you're gonna be kind of lost.
Thank you so much. This next question goes over to Rocky. You ready?
Sure, yes.
Okay, thank you. See, what recommendations or considerations can you offer for folks who may be taking over a license, specifically related to some of the new requirements and the transferability of these certificate of occupancy or health permit?
So speaking about just the certificate of occupancy, and Sal will correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter who owns, who goes into the business premises, basically. The C of O goes with the property. So building and safety doesn't keep track of, who is the business owner. As long as the property has the right C of O, that, that's between the landlord and the tenants. As long as the business has that C of O, there's no such thing as transferring a C of O. You can operate under that C of O. As far as the health department permit, I am not sure if the health department keeps track of. Actually, I think that based on the webinar, they do. So I would just contact the health department and let them know that you're taking over that, that location, so that they can update their records, because the reason for that is they do need to bill annually to renew those health department permits. So I would just contact them and let them know that you're taking over that business.
Thank you, Rocky. Sal, this question is for you. And I'm not sure if it's similar to the previous question, but I'll let you field it. It's from Jen. And she asks if the building has a previous CO from before the year 2000, sorry. Does a new CO need to be applied for, or just an update? And let me know if you need me to repeat the question.
No. Okay, so it depends on the use. If you're changing the use, the occupancy, or the new C of O will be required. But if it's the same use, it doesn't matter where, like Rocky said, it goes. If let's say it is retail, the use remains the same. You're selling products, that's still retail, so there wouldn't be a change of use or C of O. Keep in mind, certificate of occupancies are only when there's a new use, when you change the use of the building for new buildings. If it's like an alter repair to the building or addition, that will require a C of O. But alter to the building, no, you don't need a new C of O. And if it's, like I said, if it's a TI or alteration to the building, you don't need there's no new C of O required.
Thank you for that. Our next question comes from Nicole. Sal, I think this one is for you as well. Let me fix my mic there. See, on our building plans, can we state that we are cultivation, or is it best to just say cannabis-related business? Our original plans say nursery, but we are not that.
Okay, so like I said, in your case, if you're cultivating, we're going to address it as a nursery. I know that like we mentioned before, cannabis related that wording can now go into the plants. You can say cultivation on the application, but on the plants has to be nursery. Um, and that's the protocol for LADBS. On the plants cannot have anything related to cannabis. So we're trying to look like something similar, a similar use that we can apply to it. In this case, if it's cultivation, it's nursery.
Our next question, this is a follow-up from Rafi. Sal, if you can field this one. We already have an existing build-out. Our architect drafted plans that are similar to what exists now with some modifications that we will complete. What will the inspector require when they arrive at the facility during the inspection? I already have multiple clearances, but not yet reached the finish line for a final permit yet.
Okay, so they already have. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So this person has an existing build out. The architect drafted plans that are similar to what exists now with some modifications. Those modifications will be complete. What will the inspector require when they arrive at the facility during the inspection? And then they add that I already have multiple clearances but have not finished the whole permit process.
So I'm guessing that he already has that he applied for a permit because he mentioned that there's a few clearances that are still pending. Usually the clearances are in order for to issue a permit, all the clearances has to be approved. Now, if they did a modification to the plans, he needs to contact the plan checker and let him know, hey, we're modifying what we originally submit. And it depends on the plan checker whether he can continue as a verification to address all the changes, or he may ask to resubmit for a supplemental permit to address the new changes. But inspection will more than likely will not approve or finalize the project unless everything is conforming to the approved set of plans.
I believe that is the final question in the queue. I'll kick it back over to Rocky.
Okay, thank you, Gidget. Okay, so before we conclude, I want to share a couple of important reminders. The 2027 renewal window opens on September 1st, that's just in a couple of weeks, and closes on November 2nd of this year, 2026. To help licensees prepare, DCR has added a fourth webinar to the renewal series, Road to Renewal and Beyond, Navigating the 2027 Process. That webinar will take place on September 2nd. It will be hosted by my colleague, Ryan Solis. He's the division director for the licensing division. So that will be held on September 2nd at noon, and will provide guidance on completing and submitting the renewal applications through Acela. We strongly encourage everyone who will be responsible for preparing or submitting renewal applications to attend that webinar. Next slide. So according to a recording of today's webinar, along with this presentation slides, will be posted on DCR's event page by the end of this week. We encourage you to review these materials and share them with your architect, your engineer, contractor, or anyone else assisting your business with the renewal and permitting process. Next slide. And
Rocky,
yes,
Rocky, before we dismiss people, we had one last minute question for Sal, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Okay, great. This question comes from Emily, and she asked, what if the building does not have a C of O?
Okay, so there's rare instances where the buildings are, in particular those old buildings, usually that were built before 1920, it's hard to obtain a C of O, or 1946. We start issuing C of Os in 1946. Prior to that, it wasn't a requirement. So it depends on when the building was built. If it was built, like I said, before 1946, I will just, as long as we have a building permit, I will take that as a part of the COO. After 1946, LADBS was required to provide COOs, and I've seen sometimes in rare cases that there is no COO. We can find them. So at that point, it's we'll try to locate all the permit history from LA County. Usually we'll go back to a supervisor to make a determination on what the existing legal use is based on all all the documents that we can obtain. But that will go more than likely to a supervisor for a determination.
Thank you for that. Sorry, no more questions.
Okay, so that concludes today's presentation. On behalf of DCR, I want to thank our LADBS partners for joining us today. Thank you, Sal, and for helping explain these important requirements. I also want to thank everyone who attended and submitted questions today. Please remember that these milestones take time, and the best way to protect your ability to continue operating is to begin early, monitor your progress, and promptly address any outstanding requirements. Thank you again for attending, and have a great afternoon. We'll see you on September 2nd. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.